Sometimes I just like to make a nice big meal. I can stuff myself in the present and still put away some for later. But one thing I've never done is think to myself, I wonder if I could make a meal so large I could feed a small village. I've also never thought about having a world record in anything. The following groups of people, however, have no such limitations on their imaginations, or their budget for ingredients, apparently, or limitations on their physical space they have to work with. All of the items in this video either have or had the Guinness World Record in their specific category. The units of measure on these things are pretty mind-blowing. Forget teaspoons, cups, grams, etc. These things could be measured in buckets or dump trucks full. There's no real rhyme or reason to what I picked, just ones that I found interesting, or things that had at least a halfway decent story attached. Or I just found the scale of these things humorous. Let's take a look at some truly absurdly and unnecessarily large food items. Let's start with the world's largest burger. There are actually two separate categories for this: the largest complete burger with bun and toppings, and the world's largest hamburger patty. The latter was crafted in Saco, Montana, USA in September of 1999. The patty weighed 6,040 pounds, or about 2,740 kilograms. To put that weight in perspective, a full grown adult bull can weigh between 1,100 and 2,200 pounds, or 500 to 1,000 kilograms. The beef patty was close to the equivalent weight of about 3 full adult bulls. The world's largest fully assembled hamburger, with all the fixins, was brought to us by the Germans. In July of 2017, a 2,566 pound, or 1,164 kilogram burger was made by a group of people in Pilsting, Germany. The burger consisted of tomato, lettuce, cucumber, onion, an unspecified hamburger sauce, and 3 meat patties on a bun. Now, I did check because I figured it would be at least marginally humorous if Pilsting was near Hamburg, Germany, because Hamburg is the city that's the namesake for the modern hamburger patty. Turns out they're 772 kilometers apart, so there's no full circle moment here with the world's largest hamburger being anywhere near all the hamburgers. In the process of researching this video, I did try to search for the world's largest pie. Turns out, separate types of pies have separate records, so finding the definitive world's largest pie was going to be more of a pain in my ass than it was worth. I did, however, find the world's largest meat pie, which, no surprise, originated in Britain. Since I was looking right at it, may as well include it in this video. The meat pie was crafted in April of 1998 by 17 catering students from Stratford upon Avon College in Warwickshire, UK. It was so large, they had to assemble it in a stadium. The stadium in question was the Hand Stadium, located in Somerset, about 3 hours from the college. So how large was this thing? Over 23,000 pounds, or 10,000 kilograms. This monstrosity had over 5 tons of beef alone in it. There was nearly a ton of pastry just to top the thing. There were 243 pounds, or 110 kilograms, of herbs and seasonings. Herbs and seasonings are typically measured in teaspoons or tablespoons, and they used enough that I could conceivably measure them in trunks of a mid-sized sedan full. And what list of absurdly large foods wouldn't include a pizza? Pizza is likely one of the easiest foods to upsize because once you have any issues with the dough sorted out, you're just adding toppings. When you're just adding toppings to nearly 14,000 square feet, though, or 1,300 square meters, things get a bit more ludicrous. YouTuber Eric teamed up with Pizza Hut in January 2023 in Los Angeles, California, USA, to make this behemoth. Over 6 tons of dough were used, along with nearly 2.5 tons, or 2.25 metric tons, of pizza sauce, nearly 4.5 tons of cheese, or 4 metric tons, and 640,496 pepperoni slices were used. I really want to know who pissed off Pizza Hut enough that they were tasked with counting the pepperonis. 512,201, 512,202. Hey, Carl, how's counting the pepperonis going? 512,002, 512. No, 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 you son of a bitch! And sticking briefly to an Italian food theme, let's talk about the world's largest lasagna. I'm guessing you're thinking this feat was accomplished by the Italians, right? Well, you and I would both be wrong, although there were some Italians involved in the process. But again, probably not the ones you'd think. A restaurant in Krakow, Poland was actually responsible for the nearly 5.3-ton lasagna. The reason for creating such a large Italian dish? To honor the Italian national soccer team, which was playing in the UEFA Euro 2012 tournament leg hosted in Poland. Italian players did actually assist in assembling the dish. That's right, Polish chefs and Italian footballers combined to make this thing. Let's just say that's not the combination I'd have expected. Hilariously, the Italian players did not partake in eating the lasagna because they were world class soccer players in a major tournament and had strict pregame diets they had to adhere to. Incidentally, they went on to beat England via penalties in a quarterfinal match after not consuming the meal. It's unclear if that affected the outcome of the game or not. The lasagna was cut into 10,000 pieces and served, however, so at least it didn't go to waste. While the Italians were not directly involved with either the largest pizza or lasagna, the same cannot be said of the Mexicans. They are responsible for both the world's largest taco and burrito. They were both crafted in the Baja California region of Mexico, just at opposite ends of the peninsula. The record setting taco was made in the city of Mexicali, Mexico, in March of 2003. It weighed roughly 1,650 pounds or 750 kilograms, which is small compared to the other dishes we've covered so far, but tacos in general are smaller than other foods, so I guess it proportionally fits right in. The taco consisted of steak, onion, and coriander inside a flour tortilla. It took 80 people a total of 6 hours to put it together. Each ingredient was supplied by a different restaurant, and even the grills used to cook the steak came from a distinct vendor. They hired a marketing firm to promote the event, which was done as part of a celebration for Mexicali's 100th anniversary. The record setting burrito, however, was nearly 10 times the weight of the taco, clocking in at about 12,800 pounds or 5,600 kilograms. This achievement was completed in November of 2010 in the city of La Paz, Mexico, on the southern end of the Baja Peninsula. The burrito contained fish, onion, refried beans, and chilies, which is typical for a burrito for the area. What's not typical for a burrito for the area is that it took 3,000 volunteers and 54 different restaurants to bring this burrito gigante together. The tortilla that was used weighed 2 tons by itself and measured in at 2.4 kilometers, or about a mile and a half. It wasn't clear in the research if that was circumference or diameter, but I can't stress how ridiculous this tortilla is either way. If this thing had a 1.5 mile diameter, you could fit approximately 120 soccer pitches on this one tortilla. Even if it's only a 1.5 mile circumference, if you got on a horse and picked a starting point and ran around the outer edge of this tortilla at full speed on the horse, it would take you about 2 minutes to get back to your starting point. They made a machine specially designed just to roll out the tortilla, and it still took that contraption 9.5 hours just to unroll. Similarly sized to the biggest burrito, the world's largest omelet was concocted in the city of Santarém, Portugal in August of 2012 as part of the city's Immigrant Festival. All 145,000 eggs were donated by Portugal's largest egg producer at the time. 880 pounds of oil and 220 pounds of butter were used in a 4.25 metric ton pan, which had a diameter of 10.3 meters or 33.8 feet. In the end, the dish clocked in at over 7 tons or 6.5 metric tons. And while we're talking about breakfast, how about the world's largest pancake? A company out of Manchester, UK decided it would be fun to make a nearly 49.5 foot or 50-meter diameter flapjack in August of 1994. It was only 1 inch thick, which is a little surprising given its diameter, but it did weigh 3 tons. They used 2 cranes to get the pancake onto the giant griddle and flip it during the cooking process. The pancake was divided into 15,000 portions and apparently was sold to local charities. Like with the world's largest pie, it was difficult to isolate a single largest cake. This is again due to there being so many different varieties of cake. I was able to track down the largest wedding cake, as well as the record longest cake. So let's look at the latter. The longest cake in the world was measured at 5.3 kilometers or 3.3 miles and was created by bakers in Thrissur, India in January of 2020. It was a vanilla sponge cake covered in chocolate ganache using 12 metric tons of sugar and flour. It was laid out using whatever tables and desks the bakers could find at a festival grounds and on the roads leading to the grounds. It took 1,400 bakers coordinating for 4 hours to make the cake. The cake was only 10 centimeters or 4 inches wide and thick, and it was laid out in a serpentine pattern, likely because of road curvature. Due mostly to its length, it did weigh about 27 metric tons or 29.8 tons. Like the pancake, this one also got carved up, but this was given to a crowd of onlookers who devoured all 3.3 miles of it in roughly 10 minutes. The largest wedding cake was made in February 2004 at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut, USA. It weighed about 7.5 tons, or nearly 7 metric tons, and was put on display for the New England Bridal Showcase. It was difficult to find the exact height of the cake, but the tallest guy in the picture of it, and the guy wearing the chef's hat, don't even make it to the top of the third layer of the cake, and this thing is 6 layers tall. Assuming the tallest guy in the picture is around 6 feet tall, or 1.8 meters, that would put the top of the cake at roughly 15 to 16 feet, or nearly 5 meters tall. I have no idea how tall the guy actually is, but the cake appears to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5 times his height, and 6 feet is a good generic estimate. Probably the most confusing item in the video is the world's largest fruitcake. Not because fruitcake is inherently confusing, or because of the logistics of regifting a fruitcake weighing almost 5 tons, but because of the reasoning that led to it being created in the first place. Dr. Fabrizio Sepe, the director of the Serengeti Park in Hodenhagen, Germany, decided that to celebrate the zoo's 40th anniversary, he and his team should make a world record fruitcake. Look, I'm not an expert on German culture. The closest I've ever been to Germany is Dublin, Ireland, which is to say, nowhere near Germany. I am friends with one actual German woman, but I feel like that only makes me about 0.02% qualified to speak on the subject, and that's only if I text her and ask her about it first. Is this a cultural thing I'm not aware of? Fruitcake being a celebratory thing? As an outsider, that just seems so random. I do have a small amount of viewership in Germany, so could one of you let me know if this is a German thing, a regional thing, or if this is absolutely as random as it seems? The fruitcake was made with strawberries, tangerines, peaches, and ananas. I thought originally that was a typo for bananas, but it turns out anana is another name for a pineapple. So I learned something new today. And so have you if you didn't already know that. It took over 250 working hours to prepare the fruitcake. They combined 440 baking trays worth of the stuff. According to the sources that I could find, apparently no one is sure what happened to it. Given Johnny Carson's famous quip about there's only one fruitcake and people keep sending it to each other, I guess technically there's a non zero probability the next time you get a fruitcake from someone, you'll be holding 0.2% of a world record in your hands. We've looked at pancakes, cakes, and fruitcakes, so let's round out the cake family with cupcakes. The distinction of the largest cupcake belongs to a company in Sterling, Virginia, USA. They created one that weighed about 1.5 tons, or 1.2 metric tons. Not only did the company, Georgetown Cupcake, contact Guinness about the feat, the attempt was aired on American television as part of the TLC network series DC Cupcake. The cupcake was 56 inches, or 1.4 meters in diameter, and 3 feet, or 0.9 meters tall. They created a custom oven and pan to bake the dessert, and the pan was even disassembled to leave the cupcake freestanding. This was done as part of the verification for the world record attempt. Of course, with all these various foods, it would be nice to have something to wash it down with. Enter the world's largest cocktail. Originating in exactly the place you would expect a beverage this gratuitous to be from, Las Vegas, Nevada, USA, the purple gin and tonic was 946 liters, or 249 US gallons. Unlike the pancake from earlier, which was sold to charities, this libation was used as part of a fundraiser for charity that raised $10,000 for the Cleveland Clinic's Lou Ruvo Center for Brain Health. I do love the bit of irony that a drink that would, in large enough quantity, make people forget how to behave, drive, or possibly even wear pants, was put together in an effort to fundraise for a group called Keep Memory Alive. Bridging the boundaries between beverage and dessert, the world record milkshake belongs to the American Dairy Association and Comfort Diners. It was created as part of Comfort Diners' fourth annual August Milkshake celebration in New York, New York, USA in August of 2000. The shake had a volume of 6,000 US gallons, or, and here's a unit of measure I didn't think I'd ever use, 22.7 kiloliters. It was a black and white shake, a vanilla shake with chocolate syrup. It was the equivalent of 50,000 regular milkshakes. The shake, or portions of it, I should say, were handed out to City Harvest affiliated charities. Finally, let's end this theater of the absurd with possibly the most conceptually ridiculous of all of these monstrosities. I seriously wonder who looked at an empty swimming pool and said, you know what we should do? We should fill this thing with ice cream and toppings and turn it into the world's biggest sundae. But that's exactly what Palm Dairies Limited in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada did back in July of 1998. They loaded up two 45-foot long semis with 63 flavors of ice cream in 350-pound slabs. They had another 5-ton truck filled with 45-gallon drums of various sundae toppings: chocolate, fudge, pineapple, or as we learned earlier, anana, caramel, strawberry, and butterscotch. Using two forklifts and electric power jacks, They managed to fill the empty swimming pool they'd set up in the middle of the main floor of the Edmonton City Center Mall with the ice cream and toppings, and then for good measure top that in whipped cream, crushed peanuts, and maraschino cherries. All told, the dessert weighed almost 25 metric tons, or about 27.5 tons. And that does it for this video on some of the most absurdly large food items that I could find. If you have suggestions for even crazier stories about food, or crazier stories about anything else, or know if that German fruitcake zoo celebration thing is as random as it seems, feel free to like, subscribe, comment on, or share the video. Also, don't forget to ring the notification bell for more weekly content. And as always, thanks for watching.